We've grown by 35% since November, which is through an off season, which is absolutely insane. So there were so many fans that would tell us, I love USC, I'm out until Clay Helton's done. And you're like, okay, whatever, you don't really believe them, but they came back in droves. Like really all these people were coming back. And it's a little fun giving, if you're doing, whatever you're doing your job, there's going to be, the market is going to control a lot of it. Like our market is basically how good is USC football. And like we could be creating great content, give you great stories. And if the fans aren't excited because they don't like the head coaches, it's like, yeah, they'll kind of tune out. And it's a little frustrating, but it's been enlightening just to see, hey, the fans are still there. And we've just so many people come back, and it's been great. And I think it's the excitement building up for this college football season is really like nothing I've ever seen. I think spring practice, 15 practices in the spring, just the energy around it was so much different. The players that are on the team now that were holdovers, I thought there would be some kind of chemistry issues, right? Because you have a bunch of people who were there, and then all these new guys are coming in, like, oh, you're bringing this guy, you're bringing this guy. But it's really been great to see the kind of chemistry that these guys have built. And I think some of it is that the people that were left on the team, the people that didn't leave, like, they wanted a different culture. It's sort of like when you're a kid and, like if your dad lets you eat like cookies for lunch every day, you probably like every once in a while, like, hey dad, tell me to eat broccoli. I want a little discipline here. And I think a lot of these kids just needed to be told like, no sometimes, and they came in and now there's all talk about accountability, the discipline's changed. And I think they were willing enough to be like, look, we needed to change everything about this team, the culture of the team. And that's probably been the biggest impact, is how the culture has changed. And so I feel like when you brought in these new players, you brought in new coaches, it was sort of like ground zero for everybody. It was new to everyone, even the players that were already here. They knew everything had to get blown up. And I was really, I don't know, it's a surprise, I guess, but how good the chemistry was, that all these guys came together. And you have this wide receiver room with like 4 new transfers, now including like the Bolitnikoff Award winner, but 4 or 5 stars like Kyle Ford and Garrett Bryant Jr. and guys that were just like, hey, this should have been our time to shine. They all seem to accept these new guys, kind of like Terrell Bynum was like a redshirt senior from Washington that was like one of the leaders on that team. Now he's plopped into the locker. You got JJ, John Jackson Jr. He's in there. He was like the veteran of that group, and how it's a really talented group. I asked Josh Henson, the USC offensive coordinator and offensive line coach, like what he felt the strength of the offense was on Thursday, and he mentioned the wide receiver room, and it's like kind of a microcosm of the team to see. There's a whole bunch of really talented players that were still there, but they brought in significant players from you have Jerry Rice's son, Brendan Rice coming in from Colorado, and like I said, the Bolitnikoff Award winner, and it just seems like they all get along, and which is I think it's a really positive sign of what they've been able to do. So he constructed this team and then kind of built on it. The spring was great, and then he built on it a little bit more from the transfer portal. They brought in a few more guys, Jordan Addison being one of them. So yesterday was the first day, was the first practice. They did a morning practice too, so I'll talk about that in a second. But got to see Jordan Addison like catch some balls early on, so that was kind of cool to see. Then they got some of the freshmen that were coming in, like Rayleigh Brown, the 5-star running back from Modern Day. Everyone's kind of raving about him. So it's a small class. There's only like 7 people or 8 people in the recruiting class. But we got to see a bunch of them guys yesterday. It looks like a pretty healthy squad outside of Zion Branch, the big safety from Bishop Gorman, had some significant knee injuries. So he was in a knee brace yesterday when we saw him. But for the most part, everyone's healthy. It looks a lot even deeper than what we saw in the spring because there were guys out. So kind of building the roster was pretty impressive.